Working with CAD models is usually a process that involves making changes to features and geometry over time. This means you'll need to go back and make changes at different points in the design history. The main ways you can make modifications is by editing sketch dimensions and constraints used to generate 3D features, by editing the features themselves to incorporate different sketch profiles, end conditions, and numerical entries, and by reordering features in the Design Manager and using the rollback functionality to add new features at certain points in the design. In this lesson, I'll walk you through some edits I want to make to this plastic bin box. First, I'll make some changes to sketch dimensions, then adjust some sketch constraints, followed by reordering features and rolling back to add new features, and then making modifications to existing features in the design. Here I have a plastic bin box, which is made of a series of sketch-based features. In this video, I want to show you how you can edit sketch dimensions and constraints to modify the design. I want to make some changes to the overall size of the bin box, as well as some edits to the ridge along the top edge. This means I need to make edits to the sketches those features are based on. To begin, I'll edit the very first sketch, which creates the overall shape of the box. I can simply double-click on the sketch to edit it. Press the N key to switch to a normal view, and begin editing. The first dimension I'll adjust is the overall height, here on the right. I'll double-click on it, then type in a new value of 115 millimeters, and press Enter. All these black dimensions are driving dimensions, meaning that the sketch geometry is determined by that dimension and will change if the value is updated. You may also notice that this sketch has a gray dimension showing at the top. Gray dimensions like this one are driven dimensions, meaning that the value is a result of all the other driving dimensions establishing the overall geometry. In this case, the overall length of the box is determined by this 175mm dimension at the bottom, the 45-degree angle on the bottom left, and the 30mm height. Let's say, though, that I want to use the 200mm dimension currently shown in gray to drive the overall length of the box. To do this, I need to change one of the other driving dimensions to driven. I'll change this 30mm dimension by clicking on the leaders, then selecting the Driven Driving Dimension option from the context toolbar. This changes it to gray. Now I can switch the 200mm dimension to driving by selecting the leaders once again, and then selecting the same icon from the context toolbar. This means I can change the value of this dimension, which I'll change to 215mm, and the entire length of the box updates. Notice as well that the 30mm dimension is automatically updating as a driven dimension, which now has a value of 45mm. This completes the edits to this first feature, so I'll click OK, and the entire model updates. The other feature to which I want to make edits is the ridge on the top of the left and right sides. This means I need to edit the sketch that created this feature. I'll double-click on Sketch 4, press the N key to switch to a normal view, and I can start making edits. The two modifications I want to make are making this angled edge be parallel to the bottom of the box, and making the end of the ridge on the right be in line with the notch at the bottom. To start with the angled edge, it's currently using a perpendicular constraint, which you can see appear when I click on the line itself. To remove this sketch constraint, I can click on the icon and then either press Delete on the keyboard to remove it, or I can click on the Edit Constraint icon in the context toolbar. In this case, I'll edit the constraint, and I can choose which references define the constraint. I'll click on the X to remove the line in reference 2, and I'll click on the vertical line on the right side of the part to force the line in the sketch to remain perpendicular to the vertical edge. This keeps this line parallel to the bottom of the box, but is defined by the vertical edge on the right. Now when I click OK, the line has the sketch constraint applied. The other constraint I want to change is the coincident constraint that keeps this vertical line in the sketch attached to the right edge of the box. I want this line to instead be collinear with the notch at the bottom. To do this, I'll click on the point at the bottom right corner, and the coincident constraint appears. This time I want to delete it, since the relation I want to add back in is a different type. I'll click on it and then press delete. Now I can drag the line over to reposition it. To add the collinear constraint, I'll select the edge in the sketch. Then hold Ctrl or Command for Mac users and select the vertical edge on the notch. Now I can choose the collinear constraint shown here in the context toolbar, and the sketch line snaps into place. This completes all the edits to constraints in this sketch, so I'll click OK. And the ridge is updated simply by making a couple small adjustments to the constraints in the base sketch.